Commander Elena Vasquez stared at the holographic display floating before her command chair, her weathered fingers gripping the armrests until her knuckles turned white. The data streams flowing across the translucent surface told a story that made her stomach clench with equal parts rage and sorrow. "Confirm the readings, Lieutenant," she commanded, her voice steady despite the storm brewing in her chest. Lieutenant Chen's fingers danced across his console, his young face pale in the blue glow of the tactical display. "Confirmed, Commander. The Zephrian fleet violated the Stellar Sanctuary Protocol. They've glassed 3 civilian colonies in the Kepler sector." The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of the ship's fusion reactors. Elena closed her eyes, remembering the day 47 years ago when humanity had joined the Galactic Concord. There had been only one law, one sacred rule that bound all civilizations together across the vast expanse of space. Never target civilian populations. It was the single thread that prevented the galaxy from descending into total barbarism. The Zephrians had torn that thread apart. "How many?" Elena asked, though she dreaded the answer. "Approximately 2.8 million souls across all 3 worlds," Chen replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "New Mumbai, Haven's Rest, and Terra Minor. All agricultural colonies. Families, Commander. Children." Elena opened her eyes and looked around the bridge of the UES Retribution. Her crew, representatives of a dozen human colonies, watched her with expressions that mirrored her own. They had all lost someone today. The Stellar Sanctuary Protocol wasn't just an abstract law to them, it was the promise that had allowed their children to sleep safely under alien stars. "Communications," Elena commanded. "Open a channel to Fleet Command." The main display shimmered, revealing the stern face of Admiral Morrison, his silver hair and lined features bearing the weight of humanity's first true test among the stars. Behind him, Elena could see the frantic activity of the Strategic Operations Center. "Commander Vasquez," Morrison began, his voice carrying the gravity of impending war. "I assume you've seen the reports from Kepler sector." "Yes, sir." "Requesting permission to engage, Admiral." "The Zephrians have." "I know what they've done," Morrison interrupted, his eyes hard as titanium. "And I know what you're asking." "The answer is yes, Commander. By unanimous vote of the Human Colonial Assembly, we are hereby invoking Article 7 of the Concord Charter." Elena felt her pulse quicken. Article 7, the blood price. When any civilization violated the Sanctuary Protocol, the affected species had the right to exact equivalent retribution. It was a clause that had never been invoked in the Concord's 2-century history. "Sir, are we talking about 3 Zephrian worlds, Commander? Military targets, industrial centers, whatever it takes to balance the scales." "But..." Elena, Morrison leaned forward, his voice softening slightly, "remember who we are. We're not butchers. We're the guardians of the law they broke. Make them pay, but don't make us monsters." The transmission ended, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts and her terrible duty. She turned to face her crew, seeing her own resolve reflected in their faces. "Helm, set course for the Zephrian home system," she ordered. "Maximum burn." "Navigation, I want optimal firing solutions for their 3 primary military installations." "Aye, Commander," came the simultaneous replies. As the Retribution's engines roared to life, pushing the massive dreadnought toward its grim destination, Elena walked to the observation deck. Through the reinforced transparisteel, she watched the stars blur into brilliant streaks as they entered hyperspace. Each point of light represented worlds, civilizations, billions of lives that had trusted in the law that now lay shattered. The Zephrians had calculated that humanity, still young among the galactic community, wouldn't have the stomach for retaliation. They had miscalculated catastrophically. 3 days later, the Retribution dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephrian home system, accompanied by 12 other human dreadnoughts. The alien fleet that met them was 3 times their size, but Elena could see the uncertainty in their formations. They had expected diplomacy, negotiations, appeals to mercy. They received none. "This is Commander Elena Vasquez of the United Earthship Retribution," she broadcast on all frequencies. By the authority granted under Article 7 of the Galactic Concord Charter, humanity demands blood payment for the massacre at Kepler sector. You have 10 minutes to evacuate your military installations. The response came from Admiral Kepler, the Zephrian war leader whose decision had doomed his people to this moment. His insectoid features filled the screen, mandibles clicking with nervous energy. "Commander Vasquez, surely we can discuss." "There is nothing to discuss," Elena cut him off. "You broke the only law that mattered. You murdered children in their beds. You will pay the price." What followed would be remembered as the 12-hour war. The human fleet, smaller but technologically superior, systematically dismantled the Zephrian defenses. Elena watched through tears as their weapons, designed to protect human colonies, turned 3 military worlds into burning wastelands. When it was over, 2.8 million Zephrian soldiers lay dead, matching the civilian casualties they had inflicted. The mathematical precision of the retribution was both beautiful and terrible. As the human fleet prepared to depart, Elena broadcast one final message to the remaining Zephrian forces. "Let this be remembered across all the stars," she said, her voice carrying the weight of species-wide grief and resolve. "Humanity will not start wars, but we will finish them. The stellar sanctuary protocol is restored. The blood price has been paid." The retribution turned away from the burning worlds, carrying its crew back to human space. Behind them, the galaxy had learned a terrible lesson. Some laws were written not in treaties or codes, but in the stars themselves, enforced by those with the will to pay any price to preserve them. Elena never spoke of those 12 hours again, but she never forgot them either. None of them did. For they had become the guardians of the one law that kept civilization from falling into the dark between the stars.